This public meeting of the Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, and this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. All right. We're going to start off. We did have a couple of speakers sign up to speak tonight. So let me go over the rules for that. And we will start with Miss Donna Collins, if you would like to make your way to the mic. Thank you for coming tonight to share your opinion. A few rules of order regarding public comment portion of the meeting. According to board policy, each speaker has up to 5 minutes to speak. When necessary for effective meeting management or to accommodate large numbers of individuals wishing to address the board, the presiding officer may make adjustments to the public comment procedures. Under these adjustments, every individual wishing to speak will be given no less than 1 minute. The speaker also may provide a written statement to the board to supplement his or her comments if desired. We will have our board vice president, Ms. Tolbert, right here, Dr. Tolbert, will show you when you have 5, is it 2 and
5, 2 and 1?
5, 2 and 1 time remaining. See, and there should also be a display clock there for you to look at as well. The board may not ask or answer questions or make any comment regarding public comments not associated with posted agenda items. The board may respond with specific factual information or existing policy may be furnished in response to inquiries on a posted agenda item. Please note that to comply with FERPA laws on student privacy, you may not mention a student by name. And additionally, according to board policy, you may not make derogatory comments about an individual staff member either by name or title. Should you need to file a complaint, you may do this through our formal grievance process outlined in board policy. Thank you, Ms. Collins. We will start your time and you may begin.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you allowing me to come here tonight. My name is Donna Collins, and I am part of the education team for the, am I supposed to be doing this so you can hear me?
There you go. Thank you.
I'm part of the education team for the Tarrant County chapter of Citizens Defending Freedom. A number of progressive organizations are attempting to pressure school administrators to broaden the language of Title IX to include sexual orientation and gender identity. This undermines current federal law and the legislative authority of the United States Congress. These organizations are leaning on the misleading guidance of the Department of Education's 2021 Notice of Interpretation in conjunction with President Biden's executive order on the Supreme Court ruling of Bostock versus Clayton County. It must be noted that the court clearly stated that Bostock was a Title VII issue that did not apply to Title IX or any other law. The Supreme Court in Bostock emphasizes that sex-based employment or discrimination consistent with Title VII was unconstitutional. However, they explicitly refrained from applying their ruling to Title IX. Therefore, the Department of Education's Notice of Interpretation and the executive order are null because it expressly contradicts the Supreme Court precedent. There have also been a handful of cases further demonstrating the Bostock ruling does not apply to Title IX. The recent federal district court's ruling prevents Biden administration's notice of interpretation and executive order from taking effect in 20 states, including Texas. Additionally, a federal district court in Texas affirmed that sexual orientation and gender identity are not protected categories because Title IX must be read in the original context in which it was drafted in 1972, where sex was understood to be biological and binary. In the Bostock case, the Supreme Court stated that the people's representatives are the ones who must amend Title IX. Therefore, only Congress can amend Title IX. I ask you to consider this information before acting on any coercive action or tactics by organizations intentionally misapplying Title IX to push a political agenda that would eradicate Title IX's protections. Female students have a right to privacy in bathrooms and locker rooms. Female students have the right to participate in sporting activities against female athletes. I have left you copies with more information with Megan. They are in the way of a fact sheet and timelines of the cases and precedents for this, to document this. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And next we have Jennifer Jordan.
Evening. Gosh, it's kind of different up here. Yes. Welcome to Ron and Blake. Thank you for serving on the board. Although we missed the other two ladies, well, I missed the other two ladies. Looking forward to working with both of you. So as many of you know, as a former special education teacher and a mom to 2 boys who receive services through special education, my passion is disability advocacy, making sure that all students with disabilities are properly included within the school and community. Unfortunately, while my kids have benefited from an inclusive education, including extracurricular activities, the same can't be said for a lot of students in our district. I'm here tonight to talk about our Special Olympics team, the Trailblazers. While I don't have a child on the team, I have several friends who have children who participate, and I know others who are interested in joining Special Olympics. However, the lack of acknowledgement by the district that we even have a Special Olympics team is concerning. It also isn't lost on me that the Trailblazers are being recognized at tonight's board meeting in June when school is out for the summer and many people have their sights on vacation, not what's happening at our school board meetings. The Special Olympics is an international sports organization that provides individuals with intellectual disabilities the opportunity to compete in various sports events. It focuses on empowering these athletes, offering them a platform to showcase their skills, determination, and sportsmanship. They participate in events based on their age, gender, and skill level. At this time, our Trailblazers compete in bowling and track and field. Over the past several years, there seems to have been some confusion and controversy as to how this team is supported by the district. At a CPAC meeting, which is Special Education Parent Advisory Committee that is in the process of kind of being formed, one of the meetings this past fall, it was shared with us that Special Olympics is now under the athletic department. However, this isn't how it is presented on the district website. Our special programs page has information about Special Olympics, while the athletics page shows no mention of this program. That being said, many people don't even know that our district participates in Special Olympics. And when the Trailblazers do compete, there is little to no announcement of their upcoming events or documentation to celebrate their success. This year, the team was not photographed in any of our high school yearbooks, even though a parent at Chisholm Trail communicated directly with the yearbook staff several times to make sure they would be included. So my assumption, while I hope I am really wrong, is that the team isn't included in any other school yearbooks. The Trailblazers are not acknowledged on the district athletics Facebook page, even though they're supposedly under athletics. When doing a quick search on the district Facebook page, minus the one mention on May 9th of this year, the last time that I see pictures of the team was celebrating the team was back in 2019. That was a quick search. I could be wrong, but that's all I see. During that CPAC meeting and various other times, several of us shared the benefit of transitioning to a unified Special Olympics. We even shared with special programs a presentation by the Special Olympics Associate Executive Director of the region detailing what Unified Special Olympics is about and ways to get started. Dalton is even willing to come speak to the district and assist us with starting this program. However, it seems that our efforts have fallen short. Unified Special Olympics expands the inclusive sports experience by bringing individuals with and without intellectual disabilities together to compete as teammates. This program promotes social inclusion, friendship, and understanding by emphasizing teamwork and shared experiences. The teams are composed of both athletes with intellectual disabilities, which are known as Special Olympic athletes, and partners without intellectual disabilities. Partners can be students, teachers, community members who choose to participate alongside Special Olympics athletes. This program creates an environment where individuals of different abilities can come together, form meaningful connections, and foster a sense of belonging and acceptance. As a district, it is our responsibility to ensure that all students, regardless of their unique abilities, are given equal opportunities for growth and development. By actively acknowledging and supporting the Special Olympics, we send a powerful message that we value and celebrate diversity in our educational community. While I would love to see our district move to a unified model, at this point, I just want to make sure that our athletes are recognized and supported, both through community support and financially. for their hard work and dedication throughout the entire school year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up we have a district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Captain Potts.
Good evening. A meeting of the Safety and Security Committee of Eagle Mountain Saginaw Independent School District to review intruder audit findings was held on Monday, June 12th, 2023 at 4:30 p.m. at EMS ISD Administration Building located at 1600 Mustang Rock Road, Saginaw, Texas 76179. The Safety and Security Committee was informed of the intruder audits that took place at district campuses during the month of May 2023. The Safety and Security Committee were apprised of the findings and informed of the corrective actions that were taken to remedy noted infractions. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to Education Services report. We have an Aspire 2025 update, Dr. Parker.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm excited to be here and share Aspire 2025. Tonight you're going to see a different approach. 8 years ago in July of 2015, I was presenting the first Aspire 2022 report to you guys, or many of you at least. And I'm going to be totally transparent. I had no idea what I was doing. I wanted to share how far we've come. I wanted to take you back on a trip and let us journey for just a little bit back to that July of 2015 and kind of show you where we were. First of all, we can't start any Aspire presentation without a focus on our mission. We are committed to fostering that culture of excellence that instills a passion for a lifetime of continuous achievement in every student. We built our Aspire plan on that mission and we carry it forward today. With that, we have our key belief statements. I can tell you when you look down at the belief statement of education is a team effort, that is critical for the work that we do, and that in order to support every other belief statement, we here in this room have to do education is a team effort. Now, let's take a quick trip down memory lane. This is the presentation I presented, and you'll notice some missing pieces in this that you will see in Aspire 2025. First of all, this is what I consider my job description as deputy superintendent. This is what I go by. Are we meeting the strategic plan that we have created? In Aspire 2022, we had 6 key strategies. I'm briefly going to touch on some key points as we journey through this 2015 report. When you look at strategy 1, it's all about personalized education plans. This also transcends into 2025. With this, plans are key, and we have believed, look at this, personalized education plan, career cruising. We totally believed that career cruising was going to be our answer. And we found that, you know what, it was okay, but it didn't quite work as planned, so we've made some changes. We were in the midst of celebrating opportunities for college visits, for HCTC visits, and growth in our athletic programs. When we move to strategy 2, this is so interesting to me because we are going to create in this an interconnected community where technology is integrated into the fabric of all we do. We actually used our Aspire 2022 plan to move forward our technology plan, our Wi-Fi plan, and how we could use technology within our curriculum. If you look at this, Wi-Fi, in 2015, we had just completed November of 2014, a district that had access to Wi-Fi throughout the district. I just think that how far we've come, it's so interesting to see. We did not have the funds available for a device for every child, so we were promoting bring your own device. We'll make it work. We'll put you on the Wi-Fi. We will make it work. We were also educating teachers and encouraging them to use the learning platform of Canvas. Again, this is pre-pandemic time, and this is where we were. It was very critical for us, our professional development centered around how to use technology to increase learning and increase achievement. In strategy 3, this is all about instruction, PLCs, learning together and learning through and with each other. In this, we started our protocol system to monitor to PLCs. We were looking at PLCs embedded within the school day, and we had instructional rounds, go visit classrooms, lead time, and of course, everything focused on what are the students doing? What is the work of the students? This still, when we talk about learning, continues to be a key focus. Strategy 4, we were looking at creating a culture that promotes the students' inner drive, providing that opportunity to reach full potential. If you look under the key elements of that, educational facility, physical environment, facility cleanliness, and accessibility. We have, many of these under strategy 4 are just simply who we are. We don't have to have a strategic plan anymore about clean facilities. We have those, that is who we are. We're known for that. We have character education development. At this point in July of 2015, we were looking at Lions Quest, and we had just piloted that spring our program for LINC. We had just piloted our first program for that. We now have Lions Quest used at all of our middle schools, and LINC is just a part of what we do. We were looking at promoting learning opportunities for all student programs, makerspace, parent programs. We were working on that engagement, and we were celebrating our success. When we look at strategy 5, this is a strategy we continue to hone in on in Aspire 2025, especially with the continuous improvement model. We were working our RISE meetings. You'll see where we're going this next year. Our RISE meetings are changing where we will go out onto the campuses, using survey data, achievement data, and setting targets of excellence. Now, I will tell you, our targets of excellence are set with our accountability standards and our advanced placement test and our college career military readiness. Just like anything that has to do with the state, it's like they're constantly under review and change. So that has not changed over the last 8 years. Strategy 6, the last strategy in Aspire 2022, was all about employee retention and recruitment, especially looking at high-performing dynamic educators with character and conviction to improve themselves and their students through effective strategies. When we look at this is something that we continue in 2025. The retention program and the recruitment is probably more important than ever when we're in this crisis of a shortage of education. Conferences and trainings and innovative teaching practices were at the core of what we were doing in 2015. And we were moving towards the induction program with Educational Service Center. We just implemented that, and getting their support to help us support our new teachers. We were attending model schools. We had model school campuses as well, and thinking maps was critical. Canvas, digital learning, brain breaks, all of these were things we were working on. I can tell you those are just part of what we do today. That was Aspire 2022 in 2015. Now let's and we ended that with one of my favorite Dr. Daggett's quotations, our children's success will define our future. We still believe that. We still lean on the importance of that. So we move to 2025, our present, a well-worked plan created once again by key stakeholders and implemented with fidelity. If you were part of the Aspire 2025 or 2022 creation, would you please stand? Thank you. Key stakeholders are a part of our process of not only creating it, but the implementation of it. With this, our 2025, just a quick review, is built upon 3 key pillars, all about excellence. Excellence in academics, personalized opportunities, and organizational improvement. Under each pillar is the key objective areas. So we have teaching and learning, recruitment and retention. You recognize some of the same words? Social and emotional support. And then under personalized opportunities, we're looking at engagement from our stakeholders, students, staff, and family. And finally, in the last pillar of organizational improvement, we're talking about systems thinking, that continuous improvement model, putting processes in place, and safety and security. And in the last 2 years, our safety and security has taken on an incredible growth and opportunities for us. With this, I know this is very hard to read, but I just wanted to show you that under each strategic, each objective are key strategies that we are working. Now, the difference between 2015 and 2023, where we are today, I had to stop and think a moment, is the fact that we have progress stages. About in 2017, we worked again with stakeholders to create rubrics to chart our course of action. And with that, we have 4 progress stages: planning, emerging, developed, and proficient. When we are at proficient, we've numbered those: 1 for planning, 2 for emerging, 3 for developed, and 4 for proficient, where our systems and products are in place and they're fully implemented. I'm very pleased to say, and then here's our color code, that when we look at our progress, this report is just a 6-month report. It's part of a report twice every 6 months. The growth that we've had, teaching and learning has grown a little over half a point. Staff retention has stayed the same in regards to the rubric, but we've done some incredible things. I'll share with that. Social emotional support has grown 0.64. Our student engagement is a 0.07. We just received some of the data on student engagement that I reported to you in the update, and so we'll go back and go through that and update our report here. Family engagement has grown 0.20, and then, staff engagement has not grown because it's at the proficient level, as well as systems thinking. We're operating in those to ensure that we will continue to operate it with fidelity. And then safety and security has grown almost a half a point. That is within a 2-year rollout coming out of COVID. We've got a system in place for success. When we look at this in a different way, you'll see yellow, we're all at developed or above. And in December of 2022, you have 2 of our pillars are at, 2 of our objectives are at a 4.0. Now, you see that growth, we're all moving closer and closer to the 4.0. With this key work, I just want to stress some of the key work. First of all, this year, really starting in August, we were honed in. We did a greatest needs assessment, and we saw, and I reported that our 7th grade math and 4th grade math needed some work. We needed to really hone in on that. We put systems in place. We put professional learning communities in place with our 4th grade math teachers, our 7th grade math teachers, and I wanted to show you, when we look at an interim comparison to 4th grade, you can see that our approaches level from spring to spring grew by 10%, our meets grew by 12%, and our masters grew by 10%. We're very pleased with that. And whilst we're above the region in regards to interim, we should be getting our data back soon. I think we have raw scores right now is all. So here we go. Again, instructional coaches play a key role in the work and the excellence that we're doing here. When it comes to 7th grade, we continue to see some growth. I shared with our brand new board members last week that we as a district do not test our advanced 7th grade students on 7th grade math, because the curriculum that they spend most of their time on in 7th grade is 8th grade curriculum, so they test with the 8th graders. So it causes for a fall from 6th to 7th grade. With our work, you can see that we are making progress and growth spring to spring at every level. You see growth, or we're staying the same on that master's level. So we're very proud of this work, and we're anxious to get our scores back. think we'll have some celebrating. With Pillar 1 as well, we've rolled out School Links at the middle school. I talked earlier about career cruising. School Links has replaced this, and there's a parent portal with School Links where our parents can look at this. Look at the data here. We enrolled 11,750 secondary students. With that, we had 73,500 student logins. That means they are going in to School Links, they are doing some research, they're doing surveys, they are career exploring, college exploring. Out of that, 10,790 students took assessments to identify possible career paths. The number 1 was arts, video, and visual technology. Number 2, health sciences, and 3 was science, technology, and engineering. 10,870 set career goals. That's part of our work and our plan. It's in Dr. Chadwell's evaluation. It's part of our commitment to teaching students how to improve themselves, and we are seeing this. 3,300 college applications have been completed and tracked. This probably as much as anything makes me happy. 74% of seniors created an alumni account. They want to continue the work that they've had in School Links, and they are allowing us to see where they're going. That's great. We've never had the ability to track that before, so we're very excited. We continue our work with NTSS, the process of support of behavior with goals. I know that y'all heard last week in the budget meeting about our Success Academy. We continue the work with that. That is through our MTSS program, and we are seeing great success in that area. Our CCML rollout, we are estimating an increase of 24% this past year with phase 1 rollout. We brought that plan to you in the, I believe it was in August of last year, of what we were going to do. I showed you the board goals, the CCMR board goals required by the state. You asked me, do we need to reset those goals? I will tell you no. If this is correct, we will be surpassing those goals, but depending on what the state does, we'll need to come back and then up it to 88 at least, if the state continues with that. But we are moving forward. This is really exciting. I wanted to show some visuals because I think it's wonderful to see some key things that are happening with excellence in academics. I know everyone has to look at Tim Daugherty because that little woman right there, a PE coach, is reading to children and every child has a book out. That's pretty incredible. That's our PE coach, Miss Daugherty, and she is doing an incredible job of engaging children in reading. We have our chess club. I apologize, I should know off the top of my head exactly how many chess clubs we have, but I can tell you at Willow Creek Elementary, they are rocking the chess club and it's spreading to other elementaries. Reading, innovation, using our EMS-ISD devices to engage in learning is all evidenced in these pictures. And I love that we're using our whiteboards and the students are doing the work and not the teachers. That's what it's all about. Now let's talk about recruitment and retention under that pillar. The EMS-ISD Job Fair, we had one in March and June also. We just had one last Thursday with great success. In the March, we had 207 registered and 150 plus attendees, and we offered 58 contracts. This past Thursday, we had over 70 attendees, and while we did not offer contracts at that past, I know one middle school has offered 8 interviews, 8 different interviews, which is outstanding. So that was highly successful. In our recruitment and retention, I gave you a little packet. This was created by Rochelle Williams, who is our coordinator of recruitment and retention. And I just wanted to share these because I didn't know, she didn't know, we didn't know if you knew how we're working to report out, to advertise, what it means in retention. If you stay in EMS-ISD, what we have in competitive pay, the 3 weeks vacation, the longevity stipend, competitive stipend, signing bonuses, we're fast growth. Just what does it mean for you to stay in EMS-ISD? This is what it's all about. One key thing I want you to notice on every pamphlet is the fact, except this one, those aren't our real people, but these are our real people and there's multiple. Like all of you should see probably a different person, because we use real employees who are engaged in our district on our flyers, all of these. This is our hiring schedule for 22-23, as well as our supplemental compensation. So I wanted you to have that packet. Rochelle Williams did, not just me. So her idea. So let's move forward on our Grow Your Own strategies. 53 total $5,000 alumni bonuses have been provided. 19 in 21-22 and 34 in 22-23. 8 administrative interns on the principal residency grant in 22-23, and we will have 4 next year. We'll have 2 nationally board certified teachers, 1 pending certification, 5 in the pipeline. They are supported by our own EMS ISD professional learning facilitators starting this year. In the past, we had to rely on another district. We paid them a certain amount to help us with our Grow Your Own National Board Certified Teacher opportunity, and now we're able to bring that in district thanks to Elizabeth Sanders, our Director of Professional Development, Professional Learning and Continuous Improvement. Our salary and wage analysis is done each year to address recruitment and retention, and we're right there competitive with everyone. I know y'all have seen the results of that. Our district social emotional learning team has been created, and it meets regularly to plan across campuses. We are seeing improvement. It was told to me, and I think I put this in a board update, our students are acting more like students and not stressed students. I think that's important as we come post-pandemic. When we look at strategy to excellence and personalized opportunities, this is all about engagement. We talked about student goal setting. You notice that the pillars cross each other. We have personalized goal settings in the School Links piece. It pops up again here. And we use data folders with action plans in our content areas, especially at the elementaries, and our students share that once a year with their parents. That's the student-led conferences. Some of the key things that we do that I want to point out here is our multicultural celebration. We had some campuses that held their own this year, but we also had a district-wide multicultural celebration. You'll see some pictures in just a moment. I can't do my final board presentation without talking about Back to School Bash and how we can come together as a district and a community, and our church community, and our PTOs and PTAs to support our children in need. It's an incredible event. Happens August 5th this next year. Curriculum reading, advanced academic nights, evening of the experts. If you haven't had an opportunity to attend those, I would highly encourage you, because it's phenomenal to watch our students and watch what they are able to do. World Language Academy continues to grow. Our PTOs, watchdogs, booster clubs, and our service projects. I want to point out we had our first big event held by Chisholm Trail High School with their feeder patterns. It was a great success. It was aligned to the Saginaw, City of Saginaw big event, and that will continue, and it will continue to grow. Here's some pictures from that. I want you to look. Goodies with grandparents, multicultural night, youth in government. We sent more kids in youth in government to the next level and on to the state, and even down to the national level than we've ever seen. We have Avid Family Night, we had Career Day, the canned food drives for our Community Link partnership. Back at Dallas, we had something for similar to that at all high school campuses. I just happen to have that picture. Let's move now to our last pillar, excellence and organizational improvement. This has been I think this, when we were planning in Aspire 2025, we had no idea at that time that we were really going to be implementing an EMS ISD police force, and now we have it. All about systems. We've created a digital system for record retention. We'll have an administrative toolkit that is used regularly and updated with our processes and systems in that. We have a curriculum one-stop shop in the teaching and learning system, thanks to our Chief of Academics and her team of coordinators. We have the PDSA. We talk about PDSA. You see it in the update. We do that. We plan it, we do it, we study it, we go back. We decide our plan of action, we plan it, we study it, we do it, we study it. So we have that cycle, and we all are aware of it across all departments. The coordinator of crisis intervention and counseling support has made a major difference. That came in January. With her, we have a safe and supportive school program success that we were I guess it's called audited. They came and checked us from TEA, and they said within just a short period that we are like a model school for them, and they'll use our information to go to other schools. Thank you, Tiffany Turner, for that work. Our behavior threat assessment process is intense, it's required, it's intense. She has found a way for us to use Raptor to make it easier for our administrators to get that paperwork done and to utilize that. That's a whole new process at a new level. Online training with videos instead of the compliance bundle that everyone dreads. We've already placed out our EMS ISD standards. It's all videos, and we've had incredible supportive feedback. Thank you, Kathleen Eckert, for your work on that as Director of Compliance and Policy. Our CRACE training, thanks to Officer Ponce and Jackie Scott, we have to mention her, and the work that our EMS ISD police officers are doing for that CRACE training. It's on video as well this year, and we'll continue that work. Procedures, systems, staffing, all for our EMS ISD police department. Thanks to you guys and your support and the vision that Dr. Chadwell had of what this could be. We just are very appreciative of the work. Safety and security audit developed. You just had a report on that process. We have systematic processes for the evaluation of our procedures as well. Our district website provides information, and our annual staff training on safety and security is maintained. Aspire 2025, next steps. You saw the data. This next year will probably be a year when it's time to plan the next 5 years. I'm very proud of the work that the team has done in this coming out of the pandemic, especially. We rode this out, and within a couple of years, they have just taken it and run with it. Our goal is to sustain that work at the proficient level. We know after coming out of Aspire 2022 that once we start hitting that 4 mark, we move it to the next plan and set higher standards. So the 3.0 is on its way. Why do we do it? We do it because we're going to create graduates at every level who can do these things, who can think critically, communicate effectively, collaborate with peers, demonstrate career readiness with a positive attitude and a strong work ethic, a desire for professional growth and self-advocacy skills in the workplace. And they contribute meaningfully to the community, being as motivated and informed citizens. Our survey data says our graduates are doing that. The student data is saying, hey, they feel positive about leaving. High-performing schools have an absolutely crystal clear vision of what they want to accomplish. They also have a culture that supports and encourages positive change. I end every Aspire with this because that's what we're all about, and that's what our Aspire plan is all about. Having the crystal clear vision of what we want to accomplish in a culture that supports it. That culture starts with y'all, and I thank you.
Any questions?
My wish for you. I want you to stay mission driven, stay student focused. I didn't know it was going to be this hard. Stay staff supporting, because you're wonderful about that. Stay strong as a district and stay family. Here at EMS ISD, we do our best to take care of kids at every level. And when we aren't doing our best, we do better to do our best. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Parker, we're not quite done yet.
Quite done with you yet, or Phil?
We're not quite done. We have a series of questions to ask you.
I didn't put questions in.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to thank you. As you've said, you've made this your job description, and you've embraced it. You worked so hard, and I think one of the keys for Aspire is to have so many people involved. And that's why it's not your plan, my plan, or one person's plans. It's all of our plan. But there has to be someone that wakes up every day leading that and has that as their central focus, and that's been you. And so since you're about to cry, we're going to make you cry again. So we have something to give you. So Ms. Ring and I are going to come down real quick and take a picture with you.
I still think you gave me that as my job description because you didn't know what to do with me.
I promise you.
I'll
I'll make it easier on everybody.
Thank you, Linda. You'll be greatly missed.
I'm gonna have a ball, so I don't know why I'm crying. It's because y'all are so good. I appreciate y'all very much. Thank you for giving us this opportunity and letting me carry the torch. It's been such a great journey, and I'm not gonna look at anyone.
Thank you for everything you've contributed to this district. You will be greatly, greatly missed, Linda. Okay, who wants to follow that? I guess it will be Ms. Turrentine with the JJAEP.
Wow, okay. Thank you, Dr. President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, and distinguished board members, as well as the district leadership team. No, I cannot follow that, but I do have to follow that. So I'm here to talk to you about our annual MOU, which is our Memorandum of Understanding in which we enter each year with JJAEP. And if you would look in your board book, I think I have it on, I think it's located on page 42. Each year, there are certain districts, and I learn more each year. There are certain districts that enter into this. So if you look, you'll see 18. In this area, we have 20. And so those are the ones that are located inside of Tarrant County. Each year, we do have students in which find themselves not following either the laws or our student code of conduct. And there are times when students must be expelled. And so therefore, Chapter 37 of the Tech Code requires that those students be afforded some type of educational program, therefore in which we have the JJAEP. It does provide educational services, but it also provides, if you write it into the order, other type of therapies for the family, in which I've done, also as well intensive therapy for students. Their model more is that of rehabilitation and that of treatment. So with that being said, with this, you have two types of expulsions. You have a mandatory expulsion and you have a discretionary expulsion. One of the things that I can say with JJAEP is that discretionary expulsion, it does this each year, it changes. So one year you can't send students for discretionary expulsions because they're full. And so we normally see this around about February. This year, we saw it in November. So we as a district were unable to send any students that may have engaged in some type of crime or a violation of student code of conduct that warrants that because they were full. So in their efforts, they again modified the MOU. If you remember a little bit back from last year, and I'll give you a little bit of information, they allowed districts to help write the MOU because we really wanted to try to see how we could best serve more students. Well, that did not happen because there is one district that continues, and I won't say the name, but they continuously send any student that has a vape pen. And so that's what they do. They book them, they arrest them, take them to Kimbo, and therefore they have kind of clogged the system. So when you have students that are engaging in aggravated assault, murder, in criminal homicide, or indecency with the child, some of those students have not been able to be served there because of this. So again, they changed again. So if you go to section 9, I think it's page 3, in the referral process, what they've done now is they've changed it. So they're going to modify for this upcoming school year, they're going to modify the minimum of 90 days to now 60 days. So basically what they're trying to do is to try to set up a situation in which they can service more students. The other one is, if you look at your next bullet point, they're going to modify the maximum of 180-day placement for weapon offenses only. I will tell you that gives me a little bit of heartburn, because there are students that do engage in things such as, again, aggravated assault, arson, criminal homicide, capital murder, kidnapping, unlawful restraint. So with that being said, again, I have to say that the new director there, he's been there since last year. We talk almost weekly, if not, we email weekly. And so we do have a great relationship. They do speak very, very highly of EMS ISD. So as you proceed, I wanted to draw your attention just to that information. They have not gone up on their daily rate. So if we do happen to send a discretionary, then it will cost us $129 a day, $129 a day. And if you look on, keep going into the MOU, they've asked us to give them an estimate. And so each year I estimate really highly because of what I've seen for the last 2 or 3 years. I've only estimated that we may have 5 discretionaries, which may end up being something that totals around about 300 attendance days. So with that being said, this is information for you tonight, and I will return as we go back and look at how you consider this for approval. Do you have any questions for me?
It sounds like JJAEP needs to grow. Have they grown over the years? I mean, it seems, as our county's grown, is that in the future?
Has the facility grown?
Yeah, it just sounds like they need to be able to handle more kids.
Not since I've been there in the last 2 years. The facility has not. More their services and supports have, but also remember too, just because the student's been sent to JJAEP, it could be that a student is detained. So if they're detained, they could be detained in the Fort Worth Detention Center, which has grown. Any other questions? I did put in here that this year we've sent 2 students. One was for unlawful carry of a weapon on a school property, and the other one was for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have the student drug testing report. Mr. Fish.
Good evening, President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. This is an informational report that provides a concise summary of the drug testing results for the 2022-23 school year. Students in grades 7 through 12 who participate in extracurricular competitive activities are randomly drug tested throughout the year. Our mandatory drug testing program is designed as a deterrent to the use of alcohol and illegal drugs. There were 2,243 students tested during the school year. This is 510 more than the previous school year. Of the 2,243 tests, 37 resulted in a positive indicator for specific drug types. The results of this report will be utilized to monitor trends associated with the escalated use of certain types of drugs, to assist counselors in providing targeted educational assistance and resources to students and parents, as well as to inform future decisions relevant to the implementation of the drug testing in deterring student drug use. This is an informational report only, no need for any action. If you have any questions.
Questions? Nope. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to go a little bit out of order here and jump to the operations report. Mr. Welch.
I'm going the wrong way, sorry. Tonight we have a lot of pictures to go over on the construction component to this. First, we'll start with Eagle Mountain High School, and the picture on the left is on the western side of the building where you'll find the lecture hall, and that CMU area is going up and being constructed. The one on the right is shows them putting in the DENS glass around the library, and you can also see metal studs within that area. So again, that's progressing. This one's kind of hard to, it's easy to, I can explain the pictures, but this is the main foyer. This is where your front door would be located, your office, and the main student entrance. So the one on the left has the tape and bedding and it's green. That's your office area. So when you come in the main entrance, parents, visitors, they would go into that controlled area into the office. The one that's on the top, that is your main foyer looking all the way down to the cafeteria. The office is on the left. And as you move to the closer to the bridge, the picture on the right is that is the main student entrance. So they'll come in a different location. And there's a small office area there that also can, if they come in later, they can check in also there. These academic areas, so for tonight, for lack of a lower level, middle, or upper, it's just 100, 200, 300, 300 being the tallest. They're all at different stages in construction. And there's 3 different examples that I have a couple slides in here, but you can see that, and a lot of them just look the same. And I'm going to go to the next slide, and here is just another picture. The one on the left is the 300 hall, which would look toward that lecture hall looking to the west. And the 2 that I haven't mentioned, those are stairwells on the 200 level. So, typically stairwells are closed in. Well, the architect, this to me is they're very open, and it keeps a lot of natural light going in from each section. So it's a little bit, stairs are stairs, but it's a good design to, where everyone doesn't seem claustrophobic in the middle of a building. This is the corridor bridge, the one on the left. So that's connecting from the main academic to the cafeteria. And the one top one, that's another picture of the library. And the bottom right shows the cafeteria from the looking across the pond. Okay, so this is the kind of an overall of the cafeteria and kitchen. The top left one's your kitchen serving area, and you can see some rough end electrical plumbing in that picture. The one on the bottom shows how large when you come from the bridge, you got these large landing areas. You see those stairwells, how wide they are to help get the kids where they're not so crowded. And actually there's 2 stairwells, so one can come down and the other ones can go around and go up. So again, trying to where there's not a big just piling of kids at one time. So I think a lot of was put into that. And then when you come from the 200 level, you can see into the cafeteria. So that's a good view there. It's very open and airy. This one's just a lot of scaffolding, but this is what occurs in a performing arts center. And you have the fly loft, and then you have the main setting area, but you have all these scaffolds up so you can do all the above ceiling work. So it's very labor intensive, but putting all these scaffolding in, they just create, you can see it at the top, it's just a bunch of wood planks so they can work up there on the ceiling. But that was a pretty interesting picture to see what really goes into a lot of this. And the one on the right, if you look down, that is the, of course, the stage and the orchestra pit. And then the fly loft is through that lighted area. Just a picture of the front of the Performing Arts Center, and that's the one on the left, to kind of give you context. And then the one on the right is on the 200 floor. That is the stairwell to get into the upper part of the Fine Arts or the Performing Arts Center. So it has a unique design, kind of like the other stairwell, and it's very open. And if you can see them, they're doing some welding on that steel. I think that's what we call them doing. So another area where we, again, created transparency, sometimes you can have like a dance area, you can have a cheerleading, or you have a room where there's just a lot of walls and a performance area. Whereas we've added in this project areas where you can see into it. So there's viewing areas and just giving more transparency into these areas instead of just a long hallway. Gymnastics being another one of them. So this one's, you probably haven't seen these yet because you can't see these from the road or from the multi-purpose center. So these are your baseball, softball complexes that are coming together. You see a lot of concrete, retaining walls, and then you have ADA ramps. The one on the left is the baseball. The top one is a picture of the softball, and the far right is out in the outfield looking back at the softball. So a lot of work still to be done in those areas, but it is progressing. Okay, this is the main foyer for when you come into the basketball, volleyball area. To the right, you have concession stands, restrooms. You see the pillars there. That's going to support the roof for the foyer. And so I got two different pictures, one looking north and one looking south from each end. And I believe the one on the top on the right, that shows you the elevator where it goes up also. So that is the top picture. You see a little bit yellow on the horizon. That's where they poured the slab for the other basketball court. So when we have visitors there, obviously it's not a court because the stands are out, but when we don't have visitors there, and we, normally most of the time, then the bleachers are folded up. Okay, just a massive steel structure for the Fieldhouse Stadium area. They're still progressing in that and still have a lot of steel to lay, and you can kind of see their progress that they're going there on that project. Just the press box and the work there, again, steel. You can see the flooring when you look from the bottom looking up, and I did catch them taking with the stairs going in, so that's how, anyway, I was proud of that picture.
Action shot.
Yeah, action shot. But anyway, they're progressing on that. It's a lot of work in that area. And this is the close to the main entrance, so the visitors parking where parents drop off students and where the visitors actually would park. So it's not a staff parking, so it's just dedicated for our visitors, parents, anybody else that shows up, and drop off for students or pick up. Okay, some more, just some bleacher pictures, because I mean, this whole project, there's just more details starting to show up. So the visitors bleachers have been installed, and this picture doesn't show them being complete, but they have, Southern Bleachers has completed those. Work still continues with the CMU and the roofing on the restrooms, concession stands, and the ticket booths. But that part's coming along on the visitor side. And I've got some more pictures for the elementary, but I will come back and talk about this school here in a minute. But as far as the pictures go, any questions?
Mr. Newcomb isn't here, so we're still on schedule for this school?
We're on a schedule, yes. But this one, yes, the on-site, the actual construction you see daily, it's there. The challenge is the workarounds on the off-site with the water and the roads, because that part is behind, so there's just workarounds that we need to accomplish to meet what's needed for this school. And it seems like there's always something new in that. Anyway, there's roads, there's pipeline. That pipeline still is an issue, so we're working through those things. Okay, Elizabeth Lopez. So these pictures are 10 days old. I'm going to talk a lot more about what you see and what you don't see, because they have progressed in the last 10 days. But this is just the main area with the millwork and the administration. There's that's the teacher workroom, and that's where their mailboxes are located, so they don't have to actually come in. They can go down the hallway and pick their stuff up. The one on the right is the main office, the person sweeping there and cleaning up. So this is looking down on the top right. This is the main foyer, and you see the ceiling tile structure there, but all those ceiling tiles have been dropped in. That hallway has now been painted and actually has an accent purple stripe on it. So different look when you go into that building as of today. The one on the left is the hallway going out to the main parking lot. Again, ceiling tiles are in, the flooring is in. Obviously you see dirt and concrete on that one, but the VCT has been put in place. And there's a picture of the one of the restrooms, but there's two of them in that hallway for students. Picture of the library. So again, you see an open ceiling. Now that has all been closed in with the ceiling tiles. They've been dropped in. And just a completely different picture. You can see In this picture, there is the librarian's desk. That's not where it's located. They've started installing it and putting it in the right location. And the one on the right is, I believe, just the computer lab with storing things in it. Okay, the ceiling grid in the cafeteria. So this is kind of a before and after. So the one on the left was Friday morning. And then on Saturday, in one day, that's what your VCT flooring looks like. So that's how dramatic in one day it can turn over. So if we can get that open construction things going and clean everything up, it'll move a lot faster in that area on the final finishes. But I thought the floor turned out really well. Okay, so we're going to talk about those academic areas, and we're going to talk about the lower level, then we'll talk about the upper level. This is a C1 and D1. So you see the ceiling tile in. What I would pay attention to is you see the ductwork. It's got the insulations wrapped in it. So this one's ready for ceiling tiles, and it's going to have millwork in it. Then they'll have the flooring. It's already been painted on both of these areas. So within the next 2 weeks, this will move fairly quickly. Also in C1, the doors have been installed over the weekend. So again, it's moving along. And then D1's just a couple weeks behind it. When you go upstairs into above in C2, but again, these are older pictures, but the walls have been painted. Instead of taping bed, you do have the paint in there. And you see you see the ductwork. It's not all completed in this picture, but they've already started wrapping the insulation on those. So again, it's moving along. And then on the one on the right, just shows some fur downs for some ceilings in the hallway. And D2 is the one that will obviously it'll be the last one to finish. So on the left, you see a lot of framing in there. Well, 99% of the sheetrock has now already been completed in that area. They are finishing up the ductwork, and they'll start putting in the ceiling grid in that area. So a lot of things have happened over the last 10 days, on this project. The one on the left, we've got you see the basketball court, and it has 6 goals on it, and they've been installed, at least the posts have. And then the connector between the two academic areas, they were prepping for the glass, and so it's about 75% glassed in from this picture. So it's getting sealed up. The framing was completed. They just had a few panes to put in this afternoon. And if you notice on the right picture, you see the pink wall there for the weatherproofing. Well, that's almost completely brick now. So the front of the building is all bricked. They're on the back side. They'll finish that bricking by Friday or Saturday, depending on the weather, and then they'll wash it down next week. So I was happy to see the progress in the brick. And there's a picture of the front. Again, that's completed. That's probably what the back looks like. And so it won't take them very long as the weather helps us. The bottom right is just a picture of the landscaping, but also the light poles, and they've all been put in since this picture. The one on the bottom left is the fire pump. So when you're deemed not to have reliable power, you have to have a backup system that has to be inspected every month. So most of our schools will have this type of backup system. So that has been installed. And due to our electrical not having permanent power, this is a temporary, the top one with the big yellow hoses coming out, that is a temporary HVAC unit to help with the glue and putting in the floors and the finishes. So this will continue until we get permanent power, and we're working with Encore. It was in their court, now they've kind of put it back in ours, so we're going back and forth on that. And that's all the pictures on Ms. Hatley's. But again, I guess I would say the last 10 days have been more promising than actually the last 5 have been pretty good.
So how are we looking on opening?
I feel better the last 5 days than I did the first 5.
Okay.
But I mean, it's going to open. It's just got to clean up these things there just seems like there's a workaround, and we're just having to figure those out. But we are all pleased with the progress since these pictures were taken. The one thing I wanted to mention that was on the Eagle Mountain High School job site Friday week, there was, I need to report that there was, as most people know, there was a accident on off-site of the actual high school. So it was on the off-site package, probably about a half a mile from our property on the southeastern side of the property there. There was a construction accident where 2 people were injured, and unfortunately, one of them was a fatality, ended up being a fatality. That is, OSHA came out. Obviously, when you have something like this, they shut your job site down where that occurred, and they do the investigation. And their findings have not come back yet, but they will. But our heart, just prayers for their family and everything that they were coming from outside the country to come back and take care of things. So, any other questions?
I just want to comment on that because there's a lot going. It's staying on schedule. It's or not or whatever. There's a lot going in there. And I'm in the construction industry, and I know when we get into major projects like this, look at beautiful pictures and this and that. And, I drive by this every day. Multiple times. I know some of you are near too, and it. When that happened, it's nauseating to hear that. Many times in construction, we can forget that it's people doing the work. And I don't want to forget that it's people doing the work, and that it's a massive life change when there's a loss of life and an injury to life. So I don't want to. You can't honor a life in a few words, but I want to not forget that and make sure that
Actually, if we could take a moment of silence for that individual, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Welch?
Thank you for your doing, keeping us on schedule as best you can.
Okay, it is currently 6:08 p.m. on June 12th, and this board will recess for dinner and then reconvene in a closed meeting pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meeting Act. Texas Government Code Section 551.071 for the purpose of private consultation with the board's attorney. Section 551.072 for the purpose of deliberating the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. Section 551.074 for the purpose of deliberating the appointment, employment, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. Section 551.076 for the purpose of deliberation regarding the deployment or specific occasions for implementation of security personnel or devices or a security audit. And section 551.0821 to discuss specific personal identifying information about a student. On June 12th at 7:05 p.m. and we'll now consider the subjects posted set forth in the posted agenda. Welcome to our June meeting. Thank you all for being here with us. Let's get started with our opening ceremony, Remington Point Elementary.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Ring and board members. We are so excited to be here tonight. So thank you to our students also and their parents for taking time out of summer to come on up here and get this started for us. So a little bit about our kiddos here. First, we've got Ari Gutierrez, and she will be going into the 3rd grade this year. Her parents are Valentine and Elizabeth Gutierrez. Elizabeth teaches 2nd grade at our school as well. And Ari is a gymnast and attends Gateway Church with her family. She loves singing and playing with her 3 dogs and pig. Next to her. And we've got Mr. Dominic Thomas. He'll be going into 4th grade, and his mom is Lacia Thomas. And Dominic is a food and a book lover. And next to him is Amaya. She'll be going into 5th grade. And she is part of our honor choir at Remington Point. And her mom is also Lacia Thomas. And she loves drawing and painting. And then last, we've got Des Salas. He is going to be an incoming Panther this next year. He'll be going into 3rd grade. His parents are David Salas and Ana Garcia. And Desmond plays Invictus Soccer League, and he's an avid soccer player and art lover, even though he's playing baseball right now. All right, so that's a little bit about our Panthers here today. So Ari, you remember what we're going to get started with? Go ahead. Yeah, perfect.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, next we have some special recognitions. Mr. Behringer, we have Special Olympics athletes, trailblazers recognitions.
Madam President, Dr. Chadwell, members of the school board and other members of leadership, we are excited to be able to recognize our students that participate in our Trailblazer Special Olympics for the 22-23 school year. At this time, I would like to welcome up to the podium with me Coach Emily Casper. As she's making her way, we also have Coach Allison Mace Vicious. All right, there we go. I had it there, and we have a couple of other coaches that were unable to join us today. Nonetheless, we wanted to take a moment to be able to recognize our students who and parents who have put in so much work over the course of this year and participated in bowling. We had a bowling event where our students participated and received medals for their accomplishments. We also had 2 track meets after a season of practices as well. We participated at Keller ISD Stadium, and we also participated in Burleson at an area track meet. So at this time, Coach Casper is going to recognize our students who have medal and also who have participated in those.
Okay, we have some of our athletes here. We actually had over 20 new athletes join us in our team this year. So a few of them are present here tonight. So if I call your name, you're going to come up here and join me. Okay. Gina, she participated in track this year, first in the 50 meter and second in her softball throw. Next up is Nathan. He participated in track as well, first in the 50 meter and third in the javelin throw. And they are wearing their medals.
Yeah.
They have awarded them. Deshaun participated in track this year as well. Deshaun got first in the 100-meter run and second in the long jump. He has also graduated this year, and he will be participating in the Adult Special Olympics League that is also in our community next year.
Yay.
Next up, we have Jackson, competed in bowling and track, got 4th place in bowling, 4th in the 50 meter, and 4th in softball throw. He's very consistent. Next up, a new athlete to us is Kaysen. Kaysen participated in track this year as well, 2nd in softball throw and 7th in the 50-meter run. Next up is Daniel Garcia. He has been with us, I want to say, for at least 6 years or so, if not more. He participated in bowling and track, got 3rd in bowling, 6th in the 50-meter run, and 1st in the javelin throw. Maya also competed in bowling and track this year. Maya got 1st in bowling, 4th in the 50-meter run, and 4th in softball throw. Paul also competed in bowling and track and has been with us for a very long time. He got 2nd in bowling, 5th in the 100-meter run, and 4th in the javelin throw. And then Addison competed in bowling and track as well. Addison was 2nd in bowling, 3rd in the 50-meter run, and 4th in the softball throw. And then we have another athlete who competed in the past couple years and came to some of our practices, Khalil. And then I would also like to recognize it takes a lot of volunteers and support for this organization to happen, and we actually have one of our student volunteers here tonight, Miss Emery. And this is our Trailblazer team for 2022-2023 school year. You can hold that. All right, athletes, you may go back to your seats. Parents, you do not have to stay for the rest of the board meeting if you do not want to, but you're more than welcome to.
Before we allow any of them to go, the first thing I would like to say, just like any of our students, that's the blessing for us being in the kid business. They act shy, I know better, right? So I would like to take a moment, and if you are a parent of one of our athletes, I would ask that you stand and be recognized at this time. I also noticed that we have some teachers and some staff that are in the room as well. And I would love if you are a teacher or a staff member that works with our athletes, I would also ask that you would stand at this time.
Did we get a picture? Did you guys do that beforehand? Or did I need to get it when I was up here? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And the parents all got the pictures that they wanted? All right. Well, thank you all, and congratulations on such a successful Olympic season. Moving on, we have some special introductions. Mr. Behringer and Dr. Arnold.
President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, and Board of Trustees, it is a joy to present to you the new Assistant Principal for Elkins Elementary, Ms. Michelle Cockrell. So Michelle brings 16 years of experience in education. Throughout her career, she has served in a variety of positions: a teacher, an athletic coach, a curriculum assessment specialist, and an assistant principal. She currently, at least for the next couple of weeks, will be the secondary social studies instructional coach at Azle. She earned her bachelor's degree in social science and a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, both from West Texas A&M. And in her free time, she enjoys gardening, traveling, reading, catching up on a good podcast. She is married to Coach Delt Cockrell and has 2 children, Parker and Reagan. And Reagan is here tonight to support her mom. If not cheering for her family at various athletic and fine arts events, she is volunteering at her professional organizations, and we are very thrilled to have her here. Welcome.
I would ask that Dr. Kayla Sewell Bernard join me at the podium. I am astounded and honeymoon happy and peacock proud to be able to welcome to this new role, being the principal at Wayside Middle School, Dr. Kayla Sewell Bernard. Dr. Bernard received her bachelor's degree from Tennessee State University, and then she received her master's in counseling from Texas Southern, and then went on to achieve her doctorate from the University of Houston. Go Cougs. She is the mother of 4, 2 of which attend our Hafley Development Center, and then 2 others are in elementary school. She's married to the love of her life, Chris. Chris is where you imagine he would be right now on daddy duty, taking care of the 4 children. And she loves to explore new places, cuisines, and cultures. And then just a fun fact, she is also probably, maybe not the president, but the vice president of the Anita Baker fan club. I forgot. No, I didn't. So guys, please help me welcome Dr. Kayla Sewell Bernard.
All right, welcome to our newest team members. That is it for recognitions and introductions. So if that is what you were here for, I won't say the fun part. Beat up for that last week. But if that's what you were here for, now is a great time to sneak out while we get ready to move back into the reports that we did not finish in the 5 o'clock section. And that would be the finance report, Mr. Welch.
Good evening, President Ring, trustees, Dr. Chadwell. Tonight we have a report on our 2023 to 2024 budget forecast. Just wanted to go back through, give a quick understanding of our budget timeline. Back in January, legislative session began with a $32 billion surplus, and just to put that into context, the state's rainy day fund ended 2022, fiscal year 2022, with $10.7 billion in it. This surplus is about 3 times that amount. And so just in context to understand how much money the state was working with this year. The session proceeded through May 29th, the first regular session. We're now entered already into a special session. But as of May 29th, that's when we found out what the state was doing or not doing with dollars for public education. So we came back just last week, June 8th. As y'all aware, we had a budget workshop to walk through our options and considerations. We're here tonight to talk about where we think that things are going for 23 and 24 as a compensation plan recommendation. And then we'll proceed with the rest of the budget approval process in the remaining months as we move towards September 1st. On that budget workshop agenda, we went through quite a few items in the 2 hours that we worked together that night. We had a legislative update, we looked at the budget, we looked at staffing as well as market and compensation factors, as well as what our proposal and funding plan would be, even looked at debt service considerations. On the legislative update, just a recap of what happened. And again, this is for the 88th legislature. The regular session ended without a school finance bill to increase our basic allotment or compensation. We did see some additional funding in the way of the appropriations bill, which carried on some current law adjustments. And we were able to see an increase to the golden penny guaranteed yield that equalizes funding for districts that have taken advantage of the golden pennies through either local tax rate elections or other means. The net impact to EMS ISD was about $6 million through that action. Right before the end of the session, House Bill 3 came through with a few changes to it, and a few last-minute changes at that. It will, as it was passed, it's going to add about $400,000 additional to the district. That's on top of the $200,000 in the school safety allotment that we already received, so total of a little over $600,000. But there is a requirement with House Bill 3 in regards to school safety, and it does require an armed guardian per campus. And so as we look at our solutions, the $600,000 is not even on the scale of what it costs to provide a proper level of security. As I mentioned before, special session 1 has already been called, and that continues to be active right now, although we're not expecting much to happen in regards to action out of that special session. It was called in regards to property tax reduction and border security. There's a stalemate right now between the two houses, or the two chambers, and so I'm not sure that we'll see any action on that. There have been multiple tax reduction proposals throughout the regular session, and then also here in the special session, and the intention there would reduce property taxes, and you'll even hear the state say, or coming out of the state, we'll hear that the state's spending more on public education than it ever has. The concern with that is, and the piece that we have to understand, is that without a change to the basic allotment, any changes that the state does in regards to additional property tax mitigation, if they reduce property taxes, it's not actually adding any additional funding to us in the state funding formula. Our local revenue may go down, and the state monies may go up, or vice versa, but it all comes back to our basic allotment amount of per student. And so without any changes with a school finance related bill, there's really no additional money for operations. Right now, we're potentially looking at September is what we're hearing before there'll be a special session for public education, which will probably include vouchers in that discussion as well with that session. And right now, there's still, although not, there's no vehicle to or mechanism to get that to districts legislatively, but there are still $3.9 billion appropriated for education in the bill that was passed by the legislature, the funding bill. But there's just no way to distribute that at this point, so those monies are not available to us yet. If we look at current year, or the current revenue projections for next year, we have several factors, and here's our assumptions that we're working with right now. We have a projected increase of 600 students in ADA. That's worth about $4.5 million. Legislature increase on the Golden Penny yield, as we mentioned before, $6 million, as well as the school safety allotment increase of $400,000. And again, the property values, we're seeing a potential with property value increase, but again, that may, if property values increase and local property taxes increase or local revenue, all that does in the state funding formula is bring the state funding level down, coming back to that same amount per student, which is $6,160. That basic allotment has not changed since 2019, as a reminder. And, you know, as we have mentioned it before, but just a reminder that, you know, the economic projection is that it would take about $1,000 increase to the basic allotment in order to maintain the same level of buying power that we had in 2019. We've all seen the inflationary factors in our daily lives, but it's also in our operations here as well. A unique thing that may happen that we're projecting right now could, under current law, is that we may fall into recapture status on several, on what we call the copper pennies. We have 5 copper pennies in our tax rate right now, and it may potentially cause us to have a recapture payment tied in with those pennies. If anything changes in the way of homestead exemptions or any other changes in the property tax structure, that could throw us right back out. So we're just right there on the line with that. But right now, our projection is there, so we have it included both on the revenue side and on the expenditure side in our projection. And again, just emphasizing that this is all based on current law. We don't know if there will be any changes or what may be what those changes may entail. So right now, we're having to work off of current law. And with all of that, at this point, our total projected revenue is $241.6 million. If we look at the projections next year, taking everything we're doing this year, moving those operations forward, we've had approved staffing proposals to accommodate the growth and needs of the district. To this point, there was $6.2 million that has been approved in the way of staffing packages. We also include in the projections a potential increase, or what we anticipate will be an increase to our property and casualty insurance. We're looking at a potential $1 million there. That's what we have as a placeholder. We hope it's no more than that. Hopefully it comes in less, because if you'll recall last year, that increase was about $1.4 million. This number has gone up about 300% in the last 4 years. And it's we're talking millions of dollars in order to provide an appropriate level of safety and risk for our assets that the district has. We also have in the forecast our special ed IDEA B funded positions. We had several of those where those are no longer going to be able to be supported by the current grant funding. And so those positions, as important positions to us, we have rolled those into the general fund at $1.4 million. If we look at the, again, as I mentioned before, Chapter 49 recapture on the copper pennies was about 1.3, that's actually about a $1.3 million number. It's also on the revenue side, but we're representing it here. The projection also includes several proposals that you have on the agenda tonight. One is the prioritized staffing, and that includes the district solution for meeting the legislative requirements for armed guardians, and we are providing armed officers at every campus. This will provide moving not only from having our established police force at the secondary level, this would bring a police officer, a school-based law enforcement officer to our elementary campuses as well. Not only because that's the right thing, it's also, it does meet the requirement provided in the legislature. Then we also have our proposed compensation package, which is a proposed 3% on actual salaries for teachers, librarians, auxiliary staff, campus support staff, other support staff, along with counselors, nurses, and our special education support staff, being our SLPs, LSSPs, BCBAs, and campus professionals. And there's also a 1% on actual salaries for administrators and central office professionals. That comes to a total cost of $5.1 million. Again, that is in the current projection. That brings our total projection for next year right now at $259.3 million with all in. That creates a funding gap right now of $17.7 million. We do have, we do have a plan to make adjustments to address that funding gap as provided here and we discussed in the budget workshop. This includes modification of our staffing formulas to allow for the freeze of unfilled positions and some adjustments to our master scheduling at $5.7 million. This has, nobody will lose their job or anything. This is just restructuring the existing positions we have and taking advantage of unfilled positions that are currently in the district. There is a reduction of 5% in department discretionary budgets that will provide us about $2 million. And then we have estimated savings from vacancies. This is something that happens each year. We don't know what that full effect will be, but we have a gauge of between $2 and $4 million. This last year ended up being about $4 million. In years past, it's been as low as $2 million. It all comes down to the market and who's available out there as we're trying to address needs in our hiring. So the targeted use of, well, that amount being between $2 and $4 million will then, anything else that we are unable to cover then becomes something that we have to cover out of fund balance. And with that range, we're projecting anywhere between $6 and $8 million in the use of fund balance, which would potentially drop us below that 90-day reserve target. We have several strategies. We've been working to increase our fund balance over time. That's been a strategy of the board because we do know we're working in more uncertain times, as well as being a district of growth. This is something that we will have hurdles to get over occasionally, and we're in that situation here. As we look at currently, we're targeted to be about $66 million. And at the end of the 23-24 school year, we'll be down to potentially about $60 million, which is about 87.5 days. One of the things I need to note is that we're seeing this happen with multiple districts. This is our neighbors, as they're looking at compensation plans, as they're looking at doing the right thing for taking care of our public education employees. This is the right thing to do in an opportunity to take care of those needs. But it is requiring us to look at utilizing some of our fund balance to be able to do that. And like I said, that's what we're seeing across the board. I will note that one of the things that we have to consider with our fund balance is we can project that. That's really, it's a measure at the end of a fiscal year, and it goes up and down, and from year to year it will go up and down, and we have to look at trends there. There's a lot of things that influence that number, and so while we may give a projection, it can be adjusted on several things, whether it's timing of the receiving of services and materials that we plan for and budgeted in this year. If it happens next year, it may not. It may show up as a savings to fund balance, and so fund balance may go up more than what it should. It may be that we have accumulated savings in individual budget lines across the organization. That all can add up and also be something that can be that can adjust our fund balance projection at the end of the year for differences that we're unable to account for right now. The other thing is just the redistribution of anticipated savings for emerging current year needs. As things pop up during the year, we may be able to take those savings before we get to the end of the year and adjust, as well as there are accruals, which is just the accounting piece of, again, accounting for the timing. This is the most significant pieces of this would be our payroll contracts and our state revenue, all those things that happen for the next year, but happen before September 1st. Those adjustments are things that we aren't able to project necessarily at the beginning of the year, that happen throughout the year, and will be ultimately be an adjustment to fund balance as we get to the end of the year. So some of those things, I know that there's been a question about will we see additional savings, on the same level that we have in years past that may contribute. And I can just tell you that it's with the redistribution of some of the needs that have popped up, we're going to be a little tighter this year in that regard. And so we're not necessarily counting on those in any of our projections right now, although they could still definitely adjust for that. And again, just a little quick history of our fund balance. You can see where you can see a number of days of operating over in that right-hand column as we look at years past. We have been in the low 70s before, and have been able to accommodate our needs. Although, like I said, we know that it's about managing risk and having funds available for when things pop up that are beyond our control, which is right now the state is controlling things beyond our control. And so just again, this is showing our compensation plan proposal that you'll see tonight. Again, looking at a 3% on most staff and a proposed 1% on just on the administrators and central office employees. I think it's very important to note what this compensation plan accomplishes. And here with the matrix or proposed matrix for next year, these would be our teacher and librarians. You can see that this pushes there in that fourth column that starts off with $60,200. That gets our starting salary up over $60,000, which is a good accomplishment. And then you can see as well over in the latter part of our experience, we have proposed salaries that are over the $80,000 mark. And so again, trying to make sure we're taking care of our employees in this time of inflation and with their dedication to our students. I'd be happy to address any questions. I know that there's also some follow-up information in regards to some of our staffing formulas, and I was going to ask if I turn the mic over to Dr. Gamel to address those. Thank you.
Good evening, President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, Board of Trustees. I believe at the end of the work session, there were some additional questions as it relates to waivers and the different options with the elementary staffing. So you received an email earlier today from Dr. Chadwell, and I want to provide a point of clarity that the number of waivers in that email is referring to the number of grade levels that will require a waiver, not the number of sections. So what we typically do when you report to TEAL up in TEA is you load the grade level. And it's really just the push of a button. Third grade needs 3 sections. But what we do when we report it to you, Ms. Turrentine does every month during the season, we break down by actual section which teachers need waivers. That is the work that we are going to begin working on to fulfill this request in more detail, so that when you look at the options, you know exactly which campuses, which grade levels need potential waivers based on end of year enrollment and beginning of year demographer numbers. So that's some of the work we're getting started on since the request was made on Thursday, but we should have that wrapped up into Dr. Chadwell tomorrow. So I just wanted to provide that additional information for you.
Just to reiterate, the information on sections is not actually reported to TEA. So you could have a waiver that could affect one classroom, or it could affect any number of classrooms in that grade level. And so that's the details we'll get to you. And we actually will start to report that on a regular basis. So as you see this information, this will just be a part of our reporting. And so you'll have it broken down in those two areas for your knowledge.
Thank you. I have a question. So thank you for your information, and I think we should all not thank the legislature currently for not honoring our public education and our teachers and support staff and administrators. But if there is a potential session in September or November or January, I'm asking, would we amend our budget at that point to allow for more compensation if that was the case?
I think we'd have to revisit it depending on how much it is.
Well, obviously.
And also in consideration of the reductions we've already made. So I would say we continue to look at a balance. We looked at a good cost of living increase, which is 3%. It's kind of been the average kind of salary increase we've made, but of course there's catch up that needs to be done, especially with inflation. So I think we would just need to balance that along with the other side of it, which is the student teacher ratios and everything. One of the things that may come through, and that this has happened before, when they've given money after the year started, they actually directed you to do it on top of what you already gave. So we may be compelled to do that in some legislative action. So if we gave 3% and they give enough for, let's say, another 3%, it would just stack on. So that's going to be a variable. Also, how much actually, there's $3.9 billion in the appropriations in order to appropriate out. How much of that would actually be available? And so there's a lot of questions there. But to answer your question shortly, yes, it would be a decision we need to factor in. Yeah, absolutely.
And this would be a 2-year look too, so we need to keep that into consideration as well.
Yes, that's absolutely right. So what you see is the first year. And so what we did and tried to accomplish in the first year is to try to make these, I'm going to call it balance, trying to make reductions in our budget while also making compensation increases. And I know we discussed this at the board workshop, but considering that we've had 17 to 19% inflation since 2019 with 0% increase in the basic allotment from the state, we're really behind. And I'm not just EMS, I'm talking about the state is behind in this area. And so there's a lot of catch up to do. But if there is no relief, then in year 2, that $6 million deficit's not sustainable, and we'll have to immediately look at what other kinds of options that are available that would be more significant, I would say. Because as Mr. Welch said, we were able to accomplish this through attrition or positions that have not yet been filled, and that's a key as we go forth. But into the future, that's not necessarily a commitment we can make long-term, because obviously you're running a deficit budget. As we've talked to other districts, there's a variety. Some are running deficits that I don't know how they sustain them at all. Others are trying to not touch it very much, but all are trying to do something to try to address as much compensation increases as they possibly can.
Just curiosity, if you happen to know of that $3.9 billion that's allotted for education that they haven't done anything with, how much of that would be consumed by given to the districts if they were to give $1,000 basic allotment increase?
$1,000, we have 5.5 million children, and so that would be what, 5.5 billion. So it would be taken up very quickly from that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And just so that for the purposes of people that are listening, you did say with this whole plan, no one will lose their job.
That is our,
at this moment.
That is our plan. That is our plan.
In this budget plan, no. Right. Or yes, correct.
Exactly.
I guess the answer is correct.
Absolutely.
That was something that was really important to us because for all we know, there could be another special session in July, and all of a sudden we're getting an additional appropriations, which would be awesome. We do know in September there's the possibility of a trade-off. The trade-off is saying that we will give you a basic allotment increase if we get vouchers. And we are obviously completely against vouchers for so many reasons that I won't go into tonight. But we feel like that's a really poor choice that could be made and the devastating effect it'll have on communities throughout Texas. But unfortunately, to quote Representative King, who's very frustrated, he authored House Bill 100. He said that that teacher pay increases have been hijacked by vouchers. And that's how we feel. It's been hijacked. And it shouldn't be either or. Just the fact that that's even a discussion is so disappointing, which is the nicest word I can think of at this moment to describe it. So this is something that we will continue to fight and continue to ask for support at the state level. And whatever decisions are made tonight by the board, we'll communicate those out to our community to let them know what we're doing and to reinforce the fact that there has been some misinformation out there, such as what you stated earlier, which is that this is the highest that we've ever spent on per student allocation, the basic allotment. Well, that's absolutely true because you only go up. That's like saying this is the highest a car's ever cost. Well, do cars ever go down? I mean, it keeps, maybe not the greatest example, but it keeps accelerating forward. Every time you increase the basic allotment, you rarely go backwards. In 25 years, it's only gone down once, I believe. And so this idea that they're putting more money into it, we have more kids in the state of Texas. And by virtue of that, you're going to spend more money on education. But the reality is it should be tied to inflation. And just a reminder, I know we know this, but for those of you that are watching or those in the audience, there is no inflation built into these budgets, zero. So we're operating, can you imagine operating off something that's static, that requires an act of the legislature to make any kind of modifications based on inflation? So we're operating on 2019 numbers. So this is something that really needs to be addressed. On the day before the last day of the session, House Bill 3 passed, which cost another approximately $1.9 million for us. And the requirement to have a armed guardian. And our commitment as a district is to have a professional peace officer, a person that is trained and regularly trained that is in our schools versus trying to do that halfway, trying to do that with somebody that just happens to be some few hours of training. So that's our commitment, but that also has a cost. And that's something that we're kind of excited to do in order to be able to provide that to all of our elementary schools, but also we wish the dollars went along with it. I mention it because if you read most news articles, they said they gave us money for it. They gave 27 cents extra per student and $15,000 per campus. It doesn't come close to paying for the overall cost of that program. Yet people are perceiving they gave you money for it. Well, maybe they gave you money for something, but not for a professional peace officer. So there's a lot of moving parts in this. And I do want to say that obviously y'all were there, but the work that was done in the board workshop last week, a lot of details. I mean, we met 2.5 hours to go over everything. And it was a very, very good evening to walk through that as we approach consideration for our compensation plan this evening.
Thank you guys for all the work that you've done on it. And I'll just say as members of the community and folks that are tuned in here, we care about public education, we care about kids and teachers and administrators, and talking about engaging in our community. This is a way that we can engage, and we need to engage in our community by letting our voices be heard to those people who are currently hijacking and continuing to hijack public education. We're the only ones that can push them and help make a move to where we're not fighting this battle with one hand tied behind our back.
Other questions? Okay, thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
And I believe that concludes our reports from earlier, so we will move into action items. Our first action item tonight was to consider approving Gold Star Amendment number 2. Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones comes up. I just wanted to let y'all know we're asking, not necessarily asking for action on this item tonight. We'd like to provide greater clarification on the budget for this. We can move this as an action item to July, but take the opportunity during this moment to provide clarifying language, answer any questions that you have, that we can provide you information in the interim so that you are fully informed on the financial effects of this and also the connection to the SMART app.
Thank you, Dr. Chadwell. President Ring and board members, There are two items on your agenda tonight, as Dr. Chadwell mentioned. And so I'll kind of go over both of them together because they do actually tie one to another. Rather than going over the actual exhibits that I have submitted, I'm going to bring this up. And this is kind of giving a more in-depth, a more effective explanation of the financial impact for the Smart Tag mobile app. There it is, finally. Let me get this going. Okay, so just briefly, just to kind of let you know, just as a recap, to let you know where we are currently with Gold Star as far as in the contract and what the contract originally was. So the coming school year, the 2023-2024 school year, will be year 3 of a 5-year agreement, and that 5-year agreement was actually set up as a initial term of 3 years and then 2 one-year renewals. So the coming year will be the final year of that initial term, and then we'll have year 4 and we'll have year 5, both of which we will discuss to see if we want to move forward and renew. Both parties agree, then those will be renewed annually. So we are in the last year of the initial term. The term for the coming year will be September 1 of 2023 through August 31 of 2024. As I've stated in previous board meetings, the agreement that we have does allow for Gold Star to have an increase based on CPIU for the Dallas-Fort Worth and Arlington market. And right now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has that set currently at 5.8. I think it's actually 5.78, but 5.8%. So a little bit of a breakdown for the actual Smart app, and then also to tie in for the Amendment 2. If you looked at your board packet, the 7A agenda item is actually the Amendment 2. So the way that that was written was basically at a 3.5% increase. And that was basically Gold Star's response to my question to them is if we were to go with this Smart Tag mobile app, if they would cost share with the district. And so their response to that was to lower the CPI that they potentially could and were going to charge at the 5.8 based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They were going to reduce that amount to the 3.5. So the easiest way I think to look at this, I'll just go through one option completely, and then I'll go to the second option. So the first option basically is if we were just to go with no Smart Tag mobile app, and we were just to go through the normal process that we would do in a typical situation where they would propose a CPI increase and we would vote on that and then approve or disapprove. So at a 5.8% CPIU increase, that is that in that column 1 or option 1 column, $300,596. So that is the increase that it would be for the annual contract from the current year, 22-23, to going to the 23-24 school year. So a CPIU increase of 5.8% would yield approximately $301,000 increase. So if we didn't do the Smart Tag app and we stayed at 5.8%, it would that column remains the same. There's no change really all the way down that. So there's no difference for any kind of donation or not donation, contribution from Gold Star because we're not doing any kind of app. So this is just, again, this is like a typical year. So the 5.8% would be 300,000, and that goes down option 1.
Okay, sorry. I have a question. So that number, is that take into account the routes? Because I thought it was going to change because of the no more half-day pre-K.
That is the change number. So the initial,
we saw a higher number last month.
So
yes.
this is why it's
So
you've taken it down. Okay.
It was 420,000.
Yes, ma'am.
420.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's
it's 420, and they had not taken those out yet, and so
120 sounded like a lot, but I guess
it's quite a bit. I mean,
this accounts for all that now. Great,
yes.
thank you.
And that the loss of those is really just it's a loss of revenue for Gold Star. It has it's a positive impact on us. But the number that they're starting with in order to apply the 5.8% was a reduced amount from.
I was
the
making sure, because I'd looked at April, I think I'd looked at April's board notes, and so it was a much higher number, so I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, so option one, again, it's fairly simple to look through. Option two is where it gets a little bit more in depth. So option two is where we did approach Gold Star with the Smart Tag mobile app to see if they would be willing to cost share with the districts in order to implement that. Their response the method in which that they wanted to, well, first of all, they very quickly said that they would be willing to do that, but then it was more of an accounting thing of how they wanted to go about doing that. And so what they determined was, rather than just basically writing the district a check, they wanted to do it in the form of a reduction in that CPIU. So instead of charging us the 5.8%, which is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, that's around $300,000, they reduced that down to 3.5% CPIU, which would yield approximately a little over $145,000 increase. So, but again, that is if we were going to do the Smart Tag mobile app. So if we're doing the Smart Tag mobile app, then they'll reduce that 5.8 to 3.5, and our increase for the 23-24 school year over the 22-23 school year would be approximately $145,000. That's step one of option two, okay? So step two now is the actual Smart Tag app, and you guys, we showed that last month. You saw the quote. It's a little over $278,000 in order to purchase that for year one. There are recurring costs, but year one is $278,000. So with option two, the full amount of the $278 will be paid directly to Smart Tag by the district. So although Gold Star is contributing to it, they're not paying Smart Tag, nor are they, again, cutting us a check. It's just that we have like a cost avoidance of $155,000 roughly that we are not paying if we do the 3.5% and compared to the 5.8% CPIU. So
the ongoing operating cost though, the 66,000, that's not in year one? The way you said it made it sound it's like it isn't, but the way I read it here, it sounds like it is.
No, that's the recurring. So after that,
we won't incur that this first
not year one. Year one is basically taken care of with the 278.
But Gold Star is going to start that rebate in year one, the $3,000 a month year, according to this.
Yeah, it says that in addition to.
So I think that's in addition to, the way I read it.
Well, if Gold Star, Gold Star may be doing that, but as far as Smart Tag, it is not, we will not be charged the 60, it's like 65 and change, whatever. That won't start until year two, because that's basically just paying for all of your licensing and the actual lease payments on the tablets.
Okay, but we're positive on that because there is no licensing number in the 278. So I could see where all of the equipment costs 278 and there's also a license fee of 66 in the first year.
Yes,
and I think that's how Gold Star understands it too, because they're willing to pay us starting in the first year.
Yeah, and I don't have the actual Smart Tag quote in front of me, but the way it was broken out, it actually is two separate things. So they had year one all by itself. And then it had recurring costs, so and it had each section totaled. So the total for year one implementation, everything was that 278,058, and then it broke down recurring costs going forward, and it said year whatever 2 through 4 is the 65 and change. I'm going off memory.
But it does appear then that there was another credit that would be coming to us from Gold Star, the way it's written currently, of the $3,000 per year in year one, the 2023-2024 school year. That's what's in their amendment two. That's in our.
In their amendment two, yes. So
we can confirm that.
Yeah, that's. I mean.
And then it also says it would in the second action item about the Smart Tag app. It says it's 278,058 or whatever you said. But, and the 66,085 annually, but they're going to cost share for the year one implementation via that CPU and also committed to 36, which is approximately $155,000 you've got 145,000.
The 155 is the difference
Is the
between
difference.
300,000.
Oh,
and
yeah,
155.
okay, right, 150, but they've also committed 36,000 annually, like you were saying, so it reads like they're gonna give us that 36.
In year one,
In
which
year
if they
one,
were, that
yeah,
would bring
yeah.
down the 123 by
Right, and I can
36 if
confirm
we're
that
not.
with them, whatever,
But
but
I think
said-
they probably had the same understanding of it, yeah, so.
Yes.
Dwayne, when we think about year one, in year two, our cost reduces to $36,000 a year on the smart app, correct?
Yes, that would be our portion of it.
Our
if we-
portion of it.
Yeah, our
So
portion of it.
as we look at this, what we see out there right now is that we will owe in option one, 300,596 without that. In option two, where we have the smart app, it's 145,677. One thing to think about is the first year is the heaviest year. The second year, it reduces significantly, and our cost, in fact, comparing the two, I'd have to enumerate it, but it may be less on option two after the 2 years are combined, because we have reduced the CPI to 3.5%. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Am I reading that correctly?
You are correct. The only variable that may change that number, and it really shouldn't change it significantly, is the cost to replace cards. So the actual badges that we'll be giving students. So in talking with other districts, they have that every year, but it's not as many as you would think. So if we're only going to outfit the actual riders, we're not outfitting every student, 23,000 plus. If we're only outfitting the riders, and then we instruct those riders to, hey, that they need to keep their card from year to year. Each district that I spoke with, it was a low percentage. They had anywhere from a 10 to 15% replacement of those cards. So that would change that number. The number that Dr. Chad was speaking of is just the set amount that pays for the leasing of the tablets, the GPS, all those licensing fees and whatnot.
Just for clarification on my part, the reduction in the CPIU to 3.5%, that's not just the first year.
No,
That's just 1 year agreement. So,
That's
so what will happen? in
Year two,
what's in the
CPIU
contract?
goes back up to 5.8.
No, what's in the contract for that year? Because it was 3 years that increased at CP, but we didn't have an agreement on year 4 and 5, right? That's negotiated, or is it still tied to CP?
It's annual. We do the CPIU each year. So, I mean, even through years 1 through 3, I have brought to you each year, like last year, I brought to the increase, even though it wasn't a renewal because they were already within, they already had a 3-year term. So I wasn't asking to renew them, but they have the ability to annually increase their rate. So we've done that each year.
But in year 4 and 5, my
Year 4 and
specific
5.
question is, does the contract spell out that the way the increase will be determined in year 4 and 5 is tied to CPU, or does it say it will be negotiated? Because those 2 years were different than the first 3. That was a contract term that had a set increase. And I don't have that contract in front of me, so I can't.
It's negotiated. They can go up to CPIU. That's in the contract.
They can, in 4 and 5, and that's as
Yes.
high as they can go.
It's for the term of the contract, yes. So, yeah.
I have another question. So they're going to cost share the smart tag, I understand that. So they're only going to give us a 3.5% increase. How is that going to affect drivers and being able to find people? Because I can't imagine that they're going to give them a full 5.8 if that's the number, but they're only getting 3.5 from us. How do you think, because we already have problems with bus drivers, how do you think that's going to affect our ability to have Gold Star hire drivers provide transportation for us?
I would say it's certainly not going to help. I don't know that it's going to hinder it that much. I mean, we've had such they have had such a difficult time in hiring people, just finding drivers. We're going on 2 years now. Right. So this definitely will. In the discussion that I had with their upper management on the cost sharing, I mean, it was going to be, the decision was made that they would do it basically by cutting into the amount that they have to do those types of things. So they're actually, I mean, at this point, depending on the direction we go, they have not released anything to either their drivers or any other administrative staff on raises. They're in the same boat as the district is.
It wasn't in this contract. I'm just trying to remember. I do remember one time, I just can't remember when it was, if it was in this contract or not. We did do a rate increase for drivers outside of the contract provisions. Was that in this contract or was that in a previous contract?
It may have been in, it wasn't in this one, but this one came into effect, I believe, in 21, 22, and the prior one.
Do you remember, Clete?
I don't specifically remember that. I mean, we wanted those to go to the drivers. That was
We
about
did,
5
yeah,
years ago.
and we knew there was an
I
issue.
think the last couple of years, in fact, last year, I don't even think the CPI covered what the drivers, they received a raise, but that CPI did not cover all of it. So they've had to come into their own pockets, per se, to keep the drivers' wages up and be competitive.
Yeah, for example, if you recall last year, the CPIE for last year was 9%. And then through talking with them, what they proposed in order to try and be a good partner was 6%. So again, the contract allows for them to go up to it, but in talking with them, they felt that they could still run their business in the way in the manner in which they needed to, but also help us out somewhat as a district, just because 9% was a ridiculous CPIU for an annual increase.
So we don't think there's any risk of this number going in and then mid-contract term, we hear we can't attract drivers. We need to go back to a different percentage.
I'm not going to say that we won't hear that we can't get drivers, because I've been hearing that all along. But it won't be where they're not going to be able to come back and say, there will be contractually obligated. Once if we pass amendment number 2, that will be the set amount through the year for the 23-24 school year. And then again, the next year that we come back, it's going to be twofold. One, are we going to renew? Because at that point, they will be out of the term. They still have 2 option years, but we as a district would be able to discuss, are we going to renew? And then once, if we decide we're going to renew, then the CPIU comes into play. That makes sense?
Question. I asked Rob this earlier, but I'm kind of curious what you would say. What is Gold Star, or give me a few reasons, or a couple if you don't mind, why are they willing to do this? Why are they willing to take a $145,000 hit? Is it good? Because we've talked about an app in previous years that didn't materialize. I mean, that's a big hit. They don't need to do that, I'm guessing.
Well, it does, overall, one, I want to say that they are trying to be good partners for us. It's something that they know that we want. It's something that they know that they are on the receiving end quite often of those phone calls, that they're unable to give an accurate, expedient answer on where is my student. So overall, just the safety and security of it, the confidence that they can have very quickly to be able to say, your student is here, your student is there, or whatever. It will. Our hope is, and their hope is that it will reduce the number of phone calls that are received there, which, just to be transparent, let's be honest, the fewer the phone calls, the fewer complaints, because as we've heard, a lot of times when they get phone calls, that either exacerbates the complaint or creates a new one, because the time that it took for them to either answer the phone or that type of thing, it just kind of snowballs. So they're looking at it from their standpoint also, that it's a twofold thing where they can be a good partner to us and show that they want to do what's best, for the interest of our students. But they're also, I wouldn't say at all that they're trying to hide the fact that they feel like it will assist them also in their business.
Because I would think, one could argue the other side of that too, right? Was why would the district pay for half of this? Because this is kind of part of what we're outsourcing when we outsource busing, right? Is knowing when the kids get on and off the bus. And
it makes it easier for Gold Star. When I'm in a bus, when I'm driving a bus, their communication now is all via two-way radio, and it's just there's just constant chatter, parent calls. Then they call the bus driver, find out. So if they can track the kid via their tag, it just makes their job so much more accurate and simplistic.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any, and I will remind the board that Dr. Chadwell said they are interested in moving these to next month, so there's no action required, and if you guys are.
So our plan is we're going to work with Gold Star, and we are actually going to bring, if at all possible, 2 examples. One would be synonymous with what you saw tonight, and another one that would be just a straight negotiation with no smart tag in it at all. So we'll have both options available for y'all. Again, no guarantee necessarily what that would look like. That'll be a different negotiated number. Just a reminder too is that there is a requirement contractually for them to do some of these things, but we found that our own Remind system has been more effective, but it's just obviously very user heavy. It requires a lot of work to make sure that that's done, and trying to automate that's been one of the big pieces here that we've tried to work towards. If y'all have any questions you think of, please, if y'all could at all, just send them as soon as possible, because that way we will have all that information and we'll start communicating that out to y'all. So when we get there, we've covered a lot of ground and do as much work on the front side as possible.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Let's move on to consider approving the 23-24 compensation plan report. Dr. Gamel.
I make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 compensation plan report as presented earlier.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by Tim and a second by Blake. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining?
No, I'll vote for. It's fine. I'll vote for.
So motion carries 6-0. All right. Next, we have consider approving the 23-24 prioritized staffing proposal.
Good evening again. This is the prioritized staffing report that really is only ever brought if there are district priorities that need to be set. And as was discussed earlier, we did have a legislative mandate for armed officers. So we do include in this report the additional police staff needed to fulfill that mandate. We also have included to care for our employees' children. There has been a waiting list for quite some time, and we have worked with operations and Mr. Hoyas and Dr. Arnold to find an opportunity to open up another classroom at the Child Care Center. And so the additional staffing needed in order to service the kiddos of our parents is also in this staffing report. And then the final position really has to do with the needs in special education for Child Find. Those responsibilities have expanded dramatically this year. And so really moving the person who does that work for our district into her roles with the new responsibilities. So those are the priorities that have been set that we're bringing forward. And this will likely be one of the last staffing reports you see this year.
I make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 prioritized staffing proposal as presented.
Second.
A motion by Tim and a second by Ron. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries 6-0. And we've got one more. Consider approving the 23-24 supplemental compensation plan report. This is actually Mr. Mogan.
Good evening, President Ring, Dr. Chadwell, members of the board. I have for your consideration the 2023-24 supplemental compensation plan. It has 2 main components for your consideration. As previously discussed, one component of that plan coincides with the legislative action for the police department going to our elementary schools. And so this part of the compensation of the supplemental compensation plan helps for the hiring and incentives that will help to hire those police officers. Those components there with the education, TCOL training, SBLE. The other major component deals with our certain components of the special ed special programs with those areas of additions and adjustments. And it's not the only two components, but those are the main two components, as we briefly discussed the other night. Are there any questions I can answer?
I just had one, more of a clarification, and I asked it in the safety and security meeting today, but on the police additions that we're having, we might want to make a footnote that it's clear that it's not cumulative, but it's your highest degree or your highest level of certification.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Other?
I make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 supplemental compensation plan report as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That was a second, Ron? Okay. Okay, I have a motion by Tim and a second by Ron. Is there any more discussion on that? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? There are none. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
That concludes our action items. So we're moving on to routine monthly reports. Does anybody have any questions on those? Anything that you needed to go over there? Okay, then Dr. Chadwell, let's review the 2023 board planning calendar.
It's on page 165 of your packet. We'll see under finance report a presentation of the 5-year projection. Continue to report on the budget. I know there'll probably be a lot more to present at that time. We'll also start talking about debt service as well. I know that during the board workshop, we provided some information about that in consideration of the debt service rate for 23-24, and we'll discuss that. There was also some discussion about the effect of various legislative effects if there is a special session and there's an appraisal cap or an increased homestead exemption, what would be the effect on capacity of bonds? And so I've asked Rob to look into that and may use Josh McLaughlin to assist with that as well, so you can kind of see some of that. There's a lot of options, and so we'll probably just give you a few, but it just depends if they try to negotiate and do. Because right now we have the governor and the lieutenant governor completely at odds on which method to use. So I don't know if they try to come together and do a hybrid or they stay polarized, but we kind of have to be ready for it all. But we'll give you some information there just to see those impacts. We also have the athletic department annual report, construction update, the annual communications report, also a fine arts report, and the 22-23 ESL bilingual report. Under action items, I have a feeling we'll have 2 new people for the TASB Delegate Assembly. Not sure, but I have this kind of feeling that there will be 2 new people for those roles. Also set a public meeting to discuss the budget and property tax rate and conduct federal programs public meeting to discuss ESSER use of funds. Under consent agenda, we'll also have approval of the setting the meeting for the superintendent contract and also the JJAEP memorandum that you heard earlier tonight.
And you will also bring back the 2 action items from tonight.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely.
Any questions on that? Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Who's that, William?
William.
Okay, I have a motion by Marilyn, a second by William. All those in favor? Any opposed? There are none. Motion carries 6-0. Okay. That brings us to board president's announcements. Just a few things at your space tonight to fill out. We had a form on the date for the superintendent appraisal. If you could get that back to Kim, as well as the All About Me form. For those of you attending SLI here in Fort Worth, that's the 22nd through the 24th. And the VLK dinner is on the 22nd as well, if you're planning to attend that. We had an invitation for the superintendent's recognition of giving breakfast on July 27th, 8:30. If you guys can put that on your calendars if you're available to attend. And then also we have the second graduation ceremony on August 4th at 7 p.m. To put on your calendars. And we also talked tonight about the August 15th potential for a facilities planning workshop. So if you could let Dr. Chadwell know if that date worked for everybody. That's all I had.
All right. On the August 4th date, we're not going to have certain information in by that time to be able to graduate those students potentially, so we're going to have to actually push that back. We don't have a specific date yet, but Mr. Behringer's working on that. Most likely it'll be a Watson graduation only, and not the 3 high schools, because they may have 1 or 2 students. And go ahead, Dr. Parker.
It's going to be a celebration, not a formal graduation because of the low number that we will have.
So it'll be an event, most likely in here. Right now, I believe we have 4 graduates from Watson, is that correct? And we'll have it in here. It'll be more of just kind of a reception, take some pictures, meet the kids and families. And so it'll be more of that. We had one of those for a student that was actually being deployed early and was graduating early. And so we did something like that in here. It'll be along the same thing. We're working on dates because we want to make sure before we give you another date. Go ahead, Roger. August 10th at 9 a.m. Okay.
I'll put that in the board update this week.
And if for whatever reason that does not work, you don't have to be there, but it'd be great if as many people were there as possible. But if absolutely no one can be there, then we'll choose another date. We're trying to work it within the beginning of the year schedule. And I'm sorry for the change on that. This was just changed today. So anyway, always something new. We also have a couple of events coming up July 26th. We have the Maintenance and Custodial Staff Appreciation Lunch. That's at Chisholm Trail High School. If you get a chance to come by, it's a lot of fun just because I know our staff really appreciate being appreciated and they like seeing you there. And it'll be 11:30 again at Chisholm Trail. We've been doing that annually. It's July 26th. And then we also have new hire orientation and we'll send you a schedule on that. So you'll have it, but usually there's an opportunity for y'all to be introduced in line with my presentation that I do. And so if you get a chance to come by, or even if you can't come by then, anytime you come by, we'll just introduce you when you come in the room. That would be wonderful. August 7th is our convocation and business fair. We'll continue to have 2 different convocations for elementary and secondary, and also have the business fair part of it as well. And I can't believe it, but the first day of school is August 14th, which is sounding closer now, which it shouldn't because we just got out of school. So I want to thank y'all for all of the work that y'all have done and moving forward with the budget. That is, I know for me personally, it's the hardest one I've ever worked on, and probably for you too. We are looking at all these competing challenges and trying to move forward in a very difficult financial situation without the commitment to give us more resources. And so I'm hoping that people watching this and people that consider the work that's been done know that there's a lot of effort trying to balance as we move forward, but also managing our financial well-being moving forward as well. So last thing, just because my last opportunity to embarrass Dr. Parker as she's talking to Cleet there, I just wanted to say thank you again for your service. This is your last board meeting, okay? So thank you again for all that you've done. And we just really appreciate you and we'll miss you. All right.
I'll miss you too.
Absolutely.
That's all I have.
But I'll send pictures at the pool.
Madam President, seeing there is no further business to come before this board, I make a motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Marilyn, a second by Blake. All those in favor? We are adjourned.
To be proud.